You know that moment when the air leaves the room, when everything around you keeps moving, phones ringing, doors opening, papers shuffling, but you're completely still, frozen in one sentence you were never supposed to hear? That was me. A Wednesday afternoon, 3:42 p.m. I was in the hallway outside Conference Room B, headed to grab my tablet before a quarterly review. The door was cracked open an inch, lights off, just dark enough that it looked empty. But it wasn't. Inside, my wife, Taylor, was speaking in a voice I hadn't heard in months, soft, flirtatious, low. And then I heard the words that hollowed me out. "So when are we doing it? I can't wait forever, you know." The other voice, male, cocky, replied, "Soon. We'll do it clean. He won't see it coming." I didn't move, didn't breathe. I recognized that voice instantly. It belonged to Mason Drew, my regional operations lead, the guy I'd personally recruited from Dallas 18 months earlier, the guy I'd promoted last quarter over 2 more experienced candidates, the guy I'd invited into my home more than once for drinks, for work dinners, for family cookouts, the guy who was apparently screwing my wife and planning to run away with her. I backed away from the door slowly, heart pounding so loud I thought they'd hear it. I walked into an empty stairwell, shut the door behind me, and sat on the cold concrete step trying not to pass out. Let me rewind. My name's Grant Thomas. I'm 43, founder and CEO of a mid-sized logistics firm based in Kansas City, married 12 years. No kids, but not for lack of trying. Taylor and I had been through the IVF rounds, the consultations, the heartbreak. In between all that, she started helping out part-time with events and internal culture at my company, a kind of soft HR role we created together. She was charming, organized, great with clients, and apparently great at lying. I'd had my suspicions for a while, the late-night texts. The early meetings she never mentioned until the morning of, the sudden interest in working from Mason's office instead of mine. I'd chalked it up to stress, marriage fatigue, maybe even some harmless flirting. You don't want to be that guy, the jealous boss husband who controls his wife's schedule. I trusted her, right up until I heard her say, "I already looked at flights. Friday night's the easiest. He's always on calls late. He won't notice." I sat there in that stairwell for a long time, trying to process whether I'd really just overheard the end of my marriage, the betrayal of one of my top employees, and the complete unraveling of my personal life, all in less than 60 seconds. When I finally stood up, my hands were shaking, but not with sadness, with calculation, because if they thought I wouldn't notice, they didn't know me at all. The rest of the day, I said nothing. I walked into the review meeting like usual, greeted Mason with the same nod I'd always given him, even cracked a joke about his weak coffee. He laughed, clueless. Taylor wasn't in the room. She'd left by then, according to my assistant, said she wasn't feeling well. By that night, she was already acting strange, quiet, checking her phone a lot, smiling at nothing. I didn't confront her, not yet. Instead, I did what I do best. I built a plan. I called a contact of mine, a former Navy intelligence guy turned private investigator, discreet, thorough, expensive, told him I needed digital surveillance, location tracking, message backups. I didn't want emotions. I wanted evidence. He got started the next day. Meanwhile, I acted normal, kissed Taylor goodbye in the mornings, sent Mason friendly Slack messages, asked how his new car was driving. Everything was status quo, on the surface, but beneath that, I was digging. And what I found made the truth even worse. Bank statements, burner phone purchases, a hidden shared Dropbox folder filled with apartment listings in Denver, where Mason had previously lived and where they apparently planned to start fresh. She even uploaded a screenshot of her resignation letter. The file was named Just In Case Docs. By Friday morning, I had everything I needed. Phone records, GPS logs, even a voice recording from a Bluetooth sync in Mason's car, where they casually discussed how I'd probably be better off once they were gone. They really thought I'd just get over it, that I'd eat the embarrassment, sign her exit papers, maybe fire Mason quietly, and move on like a good little CEO. They had no idea, because I wasn't going to fire Mason. I was going to promote him, and then I was going to burn everything down around him, slowly, legally, and without a single drop of blood on my hands. By Friday afternoon, they thought they'd won. Taylor sent me a text around 3 p.m. Running an errand before dinner. Be back later tonight. Love you. No punctuation, no emojis, no babe like she used to. It read like a script, like something you send when you hope the person won't ask questions. I didn't reply, because I already knew where she was going. The GPS tracker I'd had installed on her car and Mason's showed them both parked in the lot of a boutique hotel on the outskirts of the city. Not far enough to hide, but just far enough to convince themselves they were being careful. By 4:15 p.m., she checked in under a fake name, Claire Bennett, cute. By 4:45 p.m., Mason's car was parked 2 spaces over. At 5:22 p.m., they were in room 214. I know because my guy was parked 2 cars away with a long lens camera and an audio recorder that picked up everything they said on the tiny 3rd-floor balcony. I listened live from my laptop in the office. Most of it made me sick. The giggles, the stupid nicknames, the casual cruelty in how they talked about me like I was some clueless obstacle. Mason joked about how Grant'll probably cry into a glass of bourbon for a week, then rebound with an intern. Taylor laughed harder than I've heard in years. But then he said something I didn't expect. This promotion he gave me, it's perfect. He just handed me the golden ticket, and Taylor replied, use it while you can. Once we're gone, who cares? That's when I realized they weren't just running away. They were going to use me on the way out. Leverage Mason's new title to cash out. Stock options, end-of-year bonuses, maybe even loop in a client or two under the table before skipping town. And it might have worked if I hadn't already beat them to the punch. Because while they were sipping overpriced cocktails on the balcony, I was in a separate meeting room downtown with my attorney, my CFO, and a silent HR rep who never made eye contact. By close of business, I'd already drafted 3 things. An airtight termination clause citing breach of fiduciary duty for Mason, retroactively applied via a revised employment agreement I'd tricked him into signing 2 weeks ago during our leadership alignment offsite. He never read it. I knew he wouldn't. A legal notice to Taylor stating that due to a violation of company ethics and non-disclosure policies, remember, she worked with us too, she would be barred from future consulting or contracting with any of our subsidiaries or partners. A public-facing HR announcement scheduled to auto-send to the entire staff Monday morning stating that both individuals had chosen to pursue opportunities elsewhere and thanking them for their service. No drama, no accusations, just enough ambiguity to let the sharks circle on their own. But I wasn't done. At 7:03 p.m., I texted Taylor, "Hope you're enjoying the hotel. Don't bother coming home." She didn't reply for 6 minutes. Then, "What are you talking about? Grant? Where are you? Are you following me?" Then Mason texted, "Hey man, this is weird. Taylor said you sent something? Everything okay?" I didn't respond. Instead, I uploaded all the photos, screenshots, GPS data, and recordings into a secure Google Drive folder, gave them access. 1 link, no words. Let them look themselves in the mirror. By 8 p.m., my phone was blowing up. Calls, messages, voicemails from both of them. Taylor was crying by message 5. Mason had shifted from, "Man, we can talk about this," to, "You're insane," by message 10. I didn't listen to any of it. I poured myself a drink, sat on my deck, let the cold October air wrap around me while my personal life and my business, both of which had been quietly rotting from the inside, finally split wide open. And for the first time in months, I felt something that resembled peace. But it wouldn't last, because the next morning, Taylor showed up at the house. And what she said when I opened that door changed everything. She was standing on the porch when I opened the door, soaked from the rain, wearing the same coat she'd worn on our 2nd anniversary trip to Chicago, the one I bought her after she said she'd never had anything nice enough for real winter. Funny how I noticed that detail in the middle of a breakdown. "Grant," she said, breathless, "please, let me talk." I didn't move. I said what I needed to, I replied, voice even. "You made your choice." Her eyes filled fast, red-rimmed and frantic. "No, you don't understand. It's not what you think." "Really? Because from where I'm standing, it looks exactly like what I think." She wiped her face. "Please, just 5 minutes. Inside. That's all I'm asking." Against every instinct in my body, I stepped aside. We sat at the kitchen table. She looked smaller than I remembered, or maybe I just felt bigger, not stronger, just heavier, like I was holding the weight of a dozen betrayals that had no place to go. "I know you heard us," she said quietly. "At the office." I said nothing. "It was real," she continued. I won't lie to you about that. Me and Mason. It happened. I don't even know how it started. I was lonely. We were broken. You were gone all the time. I felt invisible. She paused, like she expected me to fill in the silence. I didn't. But we weren't going to run away, she said. We talked about it, fantasized, but it was stupid, dramatic. Nothing was booked. No bags were packed. I saw the flights, Taylor, I said flatly. I saw the apartment listings. I saw the resignation letter. She closed her eyes. I wrote that. After one of the fights we had this summer, I didn't even send it. I was spiraling. So you accidentally ended up in a hotel room with him on a Friday night? She leaned forward, voice trembling. I was going there to end it. That made me laugh. A short, bitter sound that sounded nothing like humor. To end it? Yes, she said, desperation cracking through her words. I was finally ready to cut it off. He didn't know yet. I'd made up my mind earlier that week. I swear to you. You were going to break it off. With a hotel room reservation and a balcony cocktail? I didn't expect him to show up. I didn't even answer when he called. He showed up anyway. Of course he did, I said, because you were still playing the part. She went quiet. And then, softly, I didn't think you'd find out like that. That was the most honest thing she'd said all night. She wasn't sorry it happened. She was sorry I heard it. You know what hurts the most? I said, finally looking her in the eye. It's not the affair. It's the contempt. The way you both talked about me like I was some clueless idiot you had to sneak around. I gave him a career. I gave you my name, my trust, and you laughed at me. I didn't mean... Yes, I cut in. You did. You both did. She broke then. Not the performative tears from earlier. This was something deeper, gut-wrenching, regret with nowhere to go. And for a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. I'm not throwing away 12 years, she said. Please, tell me what to do. I'll do anything. We can fix this. No, I said quietly. You broke it. I'm just finally acknowledging the damage. She begged me to reconsider, said she'd leave the house, stay with her sister, go to therapy, sign whatever papers I needed. Just not a divorce. Not yet. And I told her something I never thought I'd say. It's not the marriage I'm divorcing, Taylor. It's the version of you I don't recognize anymore. She left that night. Didn't slam the door, didn't yell. She just walked out slowly, like someone carrying a part of the wreckage with her. And Mason. Monday morning, he walked into the office acting like he still had a job. He didn't know yet. He hadn't checked his email. At 9:04 a.m., he opened his laptop. At 9:06, he was in my doorway. At 9:07, he said, "Grant, man, can we talk?" I didn't look up from my desk. "You're done here." He hesitated. "Listen, I don't know what Taylor told you, but..." "She didn't have to tell me anything," I said. "I heard you both loud and clear." I pushed a sealed envelope across the desk. Inside, his formal termination, a summary of his contractual violations, and a list of revoked privileges, including the company credit card he'd been using to wine and dine my wife. He didn't even open it, just stood there, stunned. "Is there any way..." "Save it," I said, "and get out." And just like that, he was gone. Taylor was gone, and I was alone. But not broken, not bitter, just rebuilding. One piece at a time. 2 weeks later, the house was quiet, in a way I hadn't heard in years. Not empty, just undisturbed. No perfume clinging to the hallway, no second wine glass in the sink, no late-night whispers behind a cracked bathroom door. And for the first time in a long time, I could think. Mason was gone. Word got out fast. I didn't spread anything. I didn't have to. Offices like ours, they have a way of filling in the blanks. A few people asked questions, danced around the topic. I gave them nothing. Just let the silence do the talking. Taylor was staying with her sister. She texted a few times. Short, clean updates about mail, insurance paperwork, whatever else still connected us on paper. I never replied, not out of cruelty, out of clarity. I'd spent years mistaking closeness for loyalty. Now I knew better. In the meantime, I started putting things back together. I restructured the leadership team, gave a quiet promotion to a guy who'd been overlooked for too long, someone who earned it, not someone who charmed their way in. I took some time off, booked a solo trip to Arizona. Just me, a cabin, and 3 days of silence broken only by wind and gravel under boots. It wasn't healing, exactly, but it was honest. And sometimes, after you've been lied to for that long, honesty feels like oxygen. One afternoon, I got a message from Rachel, my longtime executive assistant. She never pried into my personal life, never played office politics. She just kept the machine running, no matter what. Her message was short. FYI, someone from Mason's old team has been reaching out to clients behind your back. Want me to flag it? I replied. No need. Already handled. Because I had. The moment I terminated Mason, I also made sure all his client access was severed. What he hadn't realized, and still didn't, was that I'd quietly created a digital footprint of his final month. Every logged call, every suspicious document download, every deleted message. He tried to slip away with a few accounts in his pocket. He left with nothing. I never pressed charges. I didn't need revenge. I just wanted distance. And then one evening, 3 weeks to the day since I heard the voices behind that door, Taylor showed up again. No storm this time, just a quiet knock. I opened the door. She looked different, like someone walking into a room she no longer had the right to be in. She held a thin manila envelope in one hand. Divorce papers, she said softly. Signed. I nodded. She hesitated. I wanted to say, I'm sorry, not just for the affair, for all of it. The way I let things rot. The way I let myself become someone I don't even like anymore. I didn't say anything. She handed over the envelope and turned to leave. But before she did, she looked back and said something that landed harder than I expected. You didn't deserve any of this. I hope you find someone who sees that. Then she was gone. And just like that, so was the last piece of that life. 6 months later, the company's doing better than ever. The team's tighter. The culture's cleaner. We're not the same business we were before. We're sharper now, more focused, leaner, in the right ways. As for me, I'm not dating, not rushing, not chasing redemption in someone else's arms. That's not what this story is about. I go home. I cook dinner for one. I sleep in the middle of the bed. I read more. I answer fewer emails. I think about the man I used to be, the one who let too much slide, who trusted too blindly, who mistook politeness for loyalty. That man's gone. And I don't miss him, because what I've learned is simple. Power means nothing if you don't see the betrayal coming. Trust means nothing if it's only a performance. And love? Love without honesty isn't love. It's debt. So no, I didn't lose everything. I lost the lies. And finally, I can breathe.